Chosen one, when I say Tupac wrote a song about you, I'm not talking about a track you can search on Spotify. I'm talking about the kind of life heaven let him see before you were even born, the kind of soul his pen kept orbiting even without a name or a face. You did not arrive at this message by boredom or accident. You were escorted here the same way you've always been escorted to the right lyrics at the exact wrong time of your life. Since you were young, there was this strange pattern. Everybody in your house was shouting, pretending, hiding, but somewhere in the background a song would start, and suddenly it felt like somebody in another dimension was narrating your diary. You thought you were just relating to music, but it went deeper than that. Tupac never wrote for polished saints in quiet suburbs. He wrote for kids raising themselves in loud rooms, for the child who learned survival before they learned self-worth, for the teenager who could feel the whole street's pain sit on their chest at night. That's you. Your story is a mix of loyalty and disappointment, love and damage, faith and rage, and that mix has always made people say, "You're complicated." Heaven has never called you complicated. Heaven has called you specific. Everything you went through, every betrayal, every slammed door, every broken promise, every time you lay in the dark with headphones on, because that was the only thing keeping you from snapping, those are the verses. This title is not hype. It is heaven's way of saying, your life has been worthy of song for a long time, and today I'm telling you why I am pleased with the way you survived it. Chosen ones, if you want to become a member of the channel and part of the Chosen Secrets family, before continuing with the video, you can join through our channel memberships. Also, if you want to support us, you can send a super thanks. Thank you in advance. God bless you. Heaven has been watching you the way a real producer listens to raw vocals in the studio. No filters, no effects, no audience. Just the truth of what you sound like when nobody is watching. Every quiet decision you've made in private has been like another take recorded on God's console. The night you could have started a war with one message, but chose to put your phone down instead. That was a verse. The moment you swallowed your pride and apologized first. Even though every part of you was screaming not to, that was a hook. The day you dragged yourself out of bed with a numb heart and still showed up for your responsibilities. That was a bridge that kept the whole track from collapsing. You call these things normal life because you were never taught how violent the spiritual war has been around you. Tupac wrote about bullets and sirens. Your bullets have been words, labels, rumors, gaslighting, silent treatments, doors slammed in your face, people choosing lies over your truth. And still, you didn't let those wounds turn you into the villain of your own story. You have harmed, yes. You made mistakes, yes. You said things you regret, absolutely. But the pattern of your life is this. You feel bad when you hurt people. You revisit conversations in your mind. You wish you handled things better, and you try again. Heaven calls that repentance, not weakness. God is pleased with you not because you've been flawless, but because in rooms where darkness offered you the easy way, you didn't completely sell your soul. Every time you chose growth over chaos, restraint over revenge, silence over a meltdown, heaven turned the volume up a little more on the song being written about you. Let's talk about where you came from, because the setting explains a lot about the sound of your life. Maybe your neighborhood really did look like something out of a street documentary. Sirens at night, slammed doors, tired faces, people numbing themselves however they could. Or maybe it was a pretty building in a nice district where the houses were spotless, but the emotional violence was hidden in decorated rooms. Either way, you grew up in an environment that tried to convince you, quietly or loudly, this is all you will ever be. You heard adults talk about money like it was a curse, relationships like they were wars, dreams like they were childish. You absorbed attention before you had language for it. You felt the unfairness clinging to the walls like smoke. When teachers or relatives labeled you difficult, lazy, too emotional, they weren't seeing you. They were seeing a system's reflection. Like Pac, you weren't born angry. You were born awake. You notice mood shifting before words change. You sense lies without proof. You saw who was being scapegoated and who always got away. That kind of spiritual sensitivity, trapped in a chaotic environment, often leaks out as attitude, silence, defensiveness, sarcasm, shutting down, wanting to disappear. People judge the behavior. Heaven understood the pressure. God watched you take hits that would have turned many people cruel. And yet here you are, still capable of guilt, empathy, and reflection. That alone separates you from the stereotype people tried to fold you into. Pac wrote entire verses about kids like you, the ones who weren't broken enough to become monsters, but were bruised enough to be misunderstood by almost everyone. Heaven is pleased that, despite where you started, you never let your environment fully dictate who you would become. There's a reason Dear Mama hits your chest in a way that's hard to explain. Even if your relationship with your parents or caregivers doesn't look exactly like his, you live in that strange intersection of love and anger, gratitude and grief. You can say, they did what they could, and still feel the ache of, but what I needed was more. You've seen the grown-ups in your life fight their own demons, addictions, depression, poverty, trauma, broken dreams, and still try, in clumsy and sometimes harmful ways, to love you. The world wants you to either worship them or cancel them, but your soul has always been stuck in the tension. I see the context of your pain, but who is going to acknowledge what happened to me? Tupac walked that same line, honoring his mother's struggle, while never hiding how that struggle landed on his body. You do that too. You could have used your childhood as a license to become ruthless, selfish, numb. You could have said, no one protected me, so why should I care who I hurt? Instead, some of your most intense internal vows have been, I will not scream at my kids like that. I will not abandon people the way I was left. I will not hide my problems until they poison everybody. You don't always succeed. You still find yourself repeating patterns, catching yourself mid-sentence thinking, I sound just like them. But even then you feel conviction. You feel the sting. You want to repair. Heaven sees that. God is pleased that you are trying to be a different ancestor for whoever comes after you. Every time you choose honesty where your family chose secrets, vulnerability where they chose pride, therapy where they chose denial, love with boundaries instead of love with chains, another line gets written in an invisible song about you, a line that says, this one decided the cycle stops here. Your anger scares people because they don't understand where it comes from, but heaven does. You are not angry because you enjoy chaos. You are angry because you were born with a sense of justice that your environment constantly violated. You've watched liars be believed and honest people be discarded. You've seen manipulators celebrated and loyal people forgotten. You felt the burn of being blamed for things you did not do, while the real culprit smiled and played innocent. That does something to your nervous system. At your lowest points, you felt like a live wire. One more insult, one more betrayal, one more fake apology away from exploding. You imagine scenes where you finally go off, expose everybody, say every truth, break everything that never protected you. And yet, most of the time you don't. You rage in your head instead of burning the whole room down. You vent in private instead of publicly humiliating people to the way you were humiliated. You plot revenge in detail and then, almost annoyingly, choose not to execute it. That restraint is invisible to almost everyone, but heaven records it. Tupac was loud, but beneath the volume was a man constantly fighting not to become the monsters he rapped about. You're in that same fight. God is pleased with you because every time you choose not to weaponize your pain to destroy someone else's life, you are proving that your heart is stronger than your trauma. Your anger is not a sign that you're lost. It's proof that your soul still expects righteousness in a world that keeps disappointing it. Heaven is not afraid of your fire. Heaven is training it, turning it from self-sabotage into spiritual discernment, from reckless explosions into courageous truth-telling. And the song about you keeps building. There is a part of you that almost nobody fully sees. The artist, the thinker, the quiet architect of worlds. Maybe you literally write lyrics, stories, scripts, or threads. Maybe you draw, take photos, edit videos, make beats, or build aesthetic universes in your mind. Or maybe your art has never left your head. You replay conversations like scenes. You narrate your own life like a movie. You imagine comebacks you'll never say out loud. Whatever the form, you've always felt like there's a second soundtrack running underneath everything. A poetic one, a cinematic one. When other people say, it was just a normal day, your soul is like, no, that was a scene, that was foreshadowing, that was character development. That's not you being dramatic. That's a prophet sensitivity living in a body that was never taught how to honor it. Tupac was not just a rapper. He was a narrator for people whose pain had no language. You carry that same instinct. You pick up on symbolism, on patterns, on hidden messages in real life. Heaven is pleased every time you turn your pain into expression instead of destruction. The poem you never posted, the song you never finished, the note in your phone where you pour out your heartbreak. Those are offerings. You think nobody cares. God does. Because every time you take energy that could become violence, addiction, or self-hatred, and instead let it leak onto a page, a canvas, a screen, a beat, heaven sees it as worship. You are not just consuming songs like you. You are slowly becoming the kind of person whose story could be the song someone else survives with. For you, headphones have never been a fashion accessory. They have been emergency equipment. There were days where the only thing standing between you and a breakdown was a track you played on repeat until the world around you blurred. While the house was loud, the music told you, you're not crazy for feeling this. While your friends didn't understand why you were so serious, the verses told you, you're not alone in seeing how dark things really are. Tupac talked about the studio like sanctuary. For you, your sanctuary has been those private listening sessions where every bar felt like a hand on your shoulder. Heaven was in that, even when you didn't know God yet. Another person in your shoes might have numbed out with substances, reckless hookups, pointless fights, or crimes done just to feel something. You've had your temptations and your missteps, but so many times you chose to drown in sound instead of drowning in self-destruction. That choice was not trivial. Every time you reached for music instead of the weapon, the bottle, the pill, the old pattern, heaven noticed. Those moments where you cried quietly with a hoodie over your head instead of exploding on someone. Those hours where you walked circles listening to tracks instead of sending a message you couldn't take back. Those are chapters of your rescue story. God is pleased with you because even when you didn't know how to pray, you still instinctively reached for something that carried truth. Your spirit was trying to stay alive, and heaven responded by making certain songs find you right on time. The song about you isn't just what Pac would have written. It's also what God has been playing over your life every time the enemy tried to fade you out. One of the deepest conflict inside you has always been this. You love where you come from, but you refuse to be trapped by it. You carry loyalty in your bones. You defend your people even when you're mad at them. You feel protective over your block, your background, your culture, your story. Yet there's this other voice in you that whispers, there has to be more than this. You've dreamed of different homes, different cities, different circles, different levels of peace. And every time you let yourself dream, guilt tries to creep in. Do I think I'm better than everyone else? Am I abandoning my roots? Am I fake for wanting out? Tupac lived that tension, loving the hood while knowing the hood wasn't built to love him back forever. You're living it now. Heaven is pleased with you because you are daring to imagine a future that doesn't repeat the same dysfunction you grew up in. You've already started doing small betrayals against the old pattern, reading things nobody around you reads, learning skills nobody expects you to learn, talking to God in your own raw language instead of repeating dead phrases. setting boundaries that make people say, "You've changed." They're right, you have, but not in the way they think. You're not changing into somebody else. You're changing into the version of you that was always written in God's studio notes. The more you honor that call to grow, the louder heaven plays a song about you. Because your ascent is not just about you getting out. It's about you becoming proof that someone from your starting point can rise without losing their heart. If you look back honestly, there are moments that should have ended you. You know exactly which ones. The argument that almost went too far. The situation that could have turned violent. The night you were in the wrong place with the wrong people, and something, timing, a delayed call, a sudden feeling, pulled you out. The risk you took when you didn't care whether you woke up tomorrow. The connection you almost went back to that would have dragged your soul into a pit. When you examine those scenes, it doesn't add up that you're still here, still relatively sane, still capable of love. Tupac rapped about death sitting in the passenger seat. You've driven with that same presence, riding shotgun, breathing on your neck. And yet, some unseen hand kept jerking the wheel just enough. Heaven has not only been watching you, heaven has been interfering for you. God is pleased with you today, partly because even when you flirted with darkness, you never married it. You danced on the edge of losing yourself, but something in you, call it conscience, call it your grandmother's prayers, call it a lyric that wouldn't leave your head, stopped you from crossing certain lines. You might beat yourself up for the lines you did cross, but heaven is still celebrating the ones you didn't. The song being written about you is not a clean gospel ballad. It's a survival anthem with verses about narrow escapes, divine redirections, doors that slam in your face because your destiny couldn't afford that kind of detour. You are not lucky. You are covered. And your continued existence is one of the clearest reasons heaven is smiling at you today. Another pattern Pack knew well, and you know intimately, is being misunderstood. You've tried to explain yourself to people who heard you through their wounds instead of your words. You've told your side of the story to people who had already picked their favorite version of you to believe. You watched your name travel farther than your actual presence, wrapped in rumors, half-truths, and projections. Over time, that made you want to shut down and stop talking altogether. But notice something. Even in your silence, you never fully betrayed your own truth. You might share less now. You might show less emotion in public. You might answer with short phrases when you use overshare, but when you do speak, you are honest. You've learned to choose your audience instead of begging to be understood by anyone with ears. That's growth. Heaven is pleased with you because you're finally treating your voice like it has value. You could have become exactly what they accuse you of being, sneaky, manipulative, fake. Instead, you chose to become selective. That's not secrecy. That's sovereignty. Every time you resist the urge to clear your name in pointless debates, and instead let your character speak over time, you sound more like someone who trusts that God is your ultimate witness. Tupac knew the world would spin narratives about him he could never fully correct, but he kept speaking to the ones who could hear him anyway. You're doing the same. And the more you practice this kind of disciplined authenticity, raw, but not reckless, the richer the lyrics about you become in heaven's notebook. Here's the twist you don't even fully realize yet. You spent years being the kid who survived because of someone else's words, and now heaven is turning you into the person whose words will help others survive. It might not be through a microphone. It might be in DMs, late-night calls, quiet hugs, or the way you encourage people in comments when you feel led. Have you noticed how often people pour their hearts out to you for no logical reason? How often you end up being the one who listens while they confess the worst parts of their story, then say, "I don't know why I'm telling you all this"? That's not random. That's because your spirit carries the same "I've been there" resonance those old songs carried for you. Heaven is pleased that you haven't let your scars turn you into someone who shames other people's wounds. You could be cold, dismissive, superior, Instead, you sin to mess with them. You validate their reality. You tell the truth without smashing their soul. You're becoming a walking proof that you can be honest about how ugly it got without giving up on yourself or others. Tupac wrote about roses growing from concrete. You're now helping other roses realize that the cracks in their lives don't disqualify them from beauty. Every time you use your experience to comfort instead of control, to guide instead of gaslight, to empathize instead of exploit, heaven adds another chorus to the song about you. One that sounds a lot like, "Well done, good and faithful survivor." So when heaven says, Tupac wrote a song about you, what it really means is this. You're exactly the kind of soul God had in mind when he allowed voices like Pac's to exist, raw, flawed, unpolished, but fiercely alive, carrying too much feeling for a numb world. You were never meant to be a background character in someone else's narrative. You are the testimony in progress, the verse that refuses to die, the evidence that somebody who grew up in spiritual crossfire can still choose love over bitterness, truth over delusion, growth over stagnation. God is pleased with you today not because you have your life perfectly arranged, but because you kept your heart beating in the right direction when everything around you tried to twist it. You are still capable of tenderness after betrayals that should have made you stone. You are still capable of hope after delays that should have convinced you to quit. You are still capable of faith after seasons where heaven felt silent and hell felt loud. That is not weakness. That is resilience anointed. In heaven's studio, the mix of your life is already playing back. Quiet apologies, unseen self-restraint, private tears, restless prayers, little acts of generosity you never mentioned, nights you held yourself together for the sake of someone more fragile than you. Those are the drums, the bass, the choir, the ad-libs. If Tupac could sit across from you, he would probably look you in the eye and say, "They try to write you off, but look at you. You're still here, still real, still feeling." That's legendary. God goes further. You are mine. I delight in you. I am not done writing with your life. You thought you were just someone who listened to songs about survival. Heaven reveals that you are one of the reasons those songs exist in the first place. And whether any human ever records it or not, your story is already on repeat in the only place that truly matters. There's another reason heaven is pleased with you today that nobody around you would ever think to mention. Your softness survived. You've been through enough that you had every excuse to become permanently cold, to treat people like transactions, to stop believing in loyalty, to build a personality entirely out of sarcasm and "I don't care." And yet you still care. You still get disappointed because some part of you still expects better from humans. You still feel that sting in your chest when someone cries in front of you. You still have to look away sometimes because you can't stand seeing someone embarrassed, humiliated, or left out. That's not weakness. That is evidence that the core of you refused to die. Tupac wrote about the rose that grew from concrete. But what heaven is celebrating today is the part of you that grew thorns and still chose to stay a rose. You can set boundaries and still be kind. You can walk away and still wish people healing. You can admit what was done to you and still not wish it on your worst enemy. In a world that constantly tells you, stop caring, stop feeling, stop trusting, you've been tempted to shut your heart off completely many times. But when the anger settles, your heart always bends back toward compassion. That bend is what God is smiling at. Your softness is not the part of you that gets you hurt. It's the part of you that keeps you qualified for the future God is building. Heaven is pleased that you didn't let bitterness finish the job that betrayal started. Heaven is also pleased with where you're heading, not just what you survived. God doesn't only see your past and your present. He sees the version of you that's still loading. The you who finally believes their story has value. The you who stops apologizing for being too deep and starts using that depth like a spotlight in dark places. The you who speaks and suddenly rooms go quiet, not because you're loud, but because your words carry weight built from real battles. Somewhere in the unseen, There's already a future moment where you're telling a small piece of your story, and someone in the back of the room is thinking, "That's me. If they made it, maybe I can too." That moment is why God guarded your life so fiercely. That moment is why the car didn't crash the way it could have, why the plan didn't go through the way it was plotted, why the relationship that would have swallowed your soul suddenly collapsed. The song about you isn't just about pain. It's about assignment. Tupac's catalog is full of warnings, confessions, and hope coded in raw language. Your life is becoming the same, a message dressed in scars. And God is pleased that even when you feel unqualified, you're still saying yes to growing into that role. Every time you choose to heal instead of hide, to learn instead of numb out, to forgive instead of curse, you're stepping closer to the platform heaven built for you. Not everybody gets that chance. You do. And heaven is already celebrating the testimonies that will be birthed from your obedience. For a long time, you've lived under this heavy, unspoken suspicion that God might secretly be disappointed in you. Maybe because of what religious people said. Maybe because of what you did on nights you don't like to think about. Maybe because you compare yourself to others who look more spiritual or more put together on the outside. So you carry this low, constant guilt soundtrack. I could have done more. I should be better by now. God must be tired of me starting and stopping. Heaven is cutting through that lie today. Listen carefully. God is not pleased with a polished version of you that doesn't exist. He is pleased with the real you, the one who keeps crawling back when walking feels impossible. The you who says, "God, I'm still struggling, but I don't want to do this without you." The you who feels ashamed sometimes and still dares to whisper, "Help me." Jesus never said, "Well done, perfect and flawless servant." He said, "Well done, good and faithful." Faithful doesn't mean you never fall. It means you keep getting back up facing the right direction. In heaven's view, your repeated attempts are not annoying. They are beautiful. Every time you break an old habit for one day, heaven celebrates that day. Every time you stop yourself mid-spiral and choose a different thought, heaven marks that shift. Every time you choose to tell the truth when lie would be easier, heaven calls that worship. The enemy keeps replaying your worst moments like a diss track. God keeps replaying your surrender moments like a love song. And the fact that you're still here, still listening, still open, that is why heaven is pleased with you today. Proverbs 11, verse 25. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. Just a quick reminder, chosen ones, if you want to become a member of the channel and part of the Chosen Secrets family before continuing with the video, you can join through our channel memberships. Also, if you want to support us, you can send a super thanks. Thank you in advance. God bless you.